Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I know, back here with Curt. Curt's been busy. I know done some videos here, Curt. They obviously did the awesome investor call. If anyone was on it, and fantastic. I know you've been doing a lot of videos, so thanks for joining. Exciting week, exciting month. Holy, doing some revenue guidance. And then we'll do a little chatterbox stuff after. But first things first, Curt, how are you?
Doing excellent. Still, going at it every day, every week, every month.
Yeah, living with a few hours of sleep a night. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But here, well, look, pretty crazy projections, of course, with revenue guidance. Look, I'll let you kind of take everyone through, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think look, the clamoring from the masses has been, for a while now, for several months, what's this mean in terms of revenue? What's this mean in terms of revenue? I mean, the thing that I've said all along, and I'll say it again, you know, the revenue that we're dealing with right now in this quarter is primarily based upon the GRP ratings and numbers that we did last quarter. The revenue for next quarter is what's happening this quarter, and on and on and on. So it's basically always trailing. The ratings numbers are trailing in that sense. The other piece of sort of, bad news, it's not bad news, it's just reality news, is that you can't, I know there were some questions from the online chats that I saw about like, well, I thought he said, went to the X million on this, or this channel did that, etc. You don't maximize your ad revenue immediately either. You don't go in and when you bring on a Pepsi or an Amazon or a Unilever or whoever, you don't immediately maximize what they're paying for your ads. You've got them for the first time, you're giving them deals, you're bringing them on, you're still not a proven channel. Yeah, you've done 7 straight weeks at this number, but let's see what happens when we come on board. And it's all a negotiation. And if anybody's done business in India, you'll know if there's nothing else you can say about it is they like to negotiate. So so the revenue per GRP that we have today is by no means the revenue per GRP that we expect to have, 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, because you keep ratcheting that up. You have more bargaining power. You have more power in terms of how you can position yourself, and you've got the brand. You have advertisers who've come on board and had successful campaigns and like what they're getting. You've got new hit shows they want to attach to, and on and on and on. So there's two things. The GRP level, which is spectacular for us right now, has to have a trailing thing in terms of the revenue recognition, and it also has to have the maximization of the GRP against that. So when you get into a channel that's been in the market for 10 years, they've maximized the potential of the ad revenue that can be generated against their per GRP number. We're not there yet, but that's why we brought in Simran Hoon. Simran Hoon has 20 plus years of experience maximizing the amount of revenue against the GRP number, but it takes time. So that's all. So that's all in place. How does that relate to the revenue guidance? I mean, look, let's be candid. Okay. We were on our backs a year ago as a company. We were on our friggin' backs. Okay. We had debt. We didn't have any cash. We had a lousy stock price, and we were in the middle of the COVID onslaught. And I mean, it was rough. It was a rough go. And we stuck to it. We worked on the product. We worked on the distribution. We worked on all the things that are working now. And we've seen that in a, what I could only describe as a meteoric transformation of our business over the last 3 to 6 months. And we're in a completely different position right now in terms of our economics, our ratings, our audience, et cetera. I mean, we were talking about in Q4 where we had, 4 million people who watched the channel this week. Last week, we had 90 million people who watched the channel. I mean, that's insane. Okay. That's just insane. And so the guidance is based upon a cautionary view into what we're doing, but that's trying to give people a sense of where it's headed, because we have a history as a company, and I'll be the first one to admit it because I've been here the whole friggin' time, of over promising and under delivering. Okay. I'm trying to change that now. Okay. It's just like I always said some of the stuff from long ago. We went 10 miles wide and 2 inches deep. Instead, we flipped it now to go 2 inches wide and 10 miles deep. Well, now I'm trying to give stuff for investors where we under promise and over deliver. So I gave what I felt were realistic, reachable numbers that we could get to, even if things don't keep exploding, even if things settle down a bit, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't base these numbers upon where we are right now on GRP. We ratcheted that down a bit. No one in India knows the next 6 months real impact of COVID. Most people think it's probably going to have a 15 to 20% downward impact on ad sales. We took that into effect and ratcheted it down. So we hope to go higher. We're working to go higher. We hope that happens, but it was time to give investors, I couldn't keep saying, well, we did this and it means that, and this equals that, et cetera. We had to show that. If you strip all the guidance back, what does it really tell you? It tells you that we expect a minimum of 50% revenue growth quarter over quarter. Well, guess what? 50% revenue growth quarter over quarter is huge. And when you keep adding that up and multiplying it through 2022 and beyond, then you get to a really big number. And so that's what we're looking for right now. That's where we're headed. And this was to just give people a taste.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the numbers and the gravity, and you can compare it to, what the company's done in previous years. So incredible. Here I'll read the sentence and you can take it from there. Revenue projected for 3 quarters ended December 31st, 2021, is 9 million to $10.7 million. Walk me through kind of the gravity of that number or those numbers compared to obviously what you guys have done previously, and really, do you think all these people saying, hey, like, when's the company going to produce revenue? Hey, well, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you get into um, not the quarter we're in right now, but next quarter where we're talking about $3 million in revenue. Well, that's $1 million a month. Okay. $1 million a month in revenue. That's $12 million annually. And that's going to keep going up from there. When you get into Q4, we're looking at a top end on that one of $4.5 million in that quarter. Well, now we're pushing up, if that continues to grow, into $20 million a year annual run rate. Well, look, that's just scratching the surface. I mean, go back and look at some of the growth of companies that have happened in the digital space or other space when they really gain that traction and it starts to multiply on top of itself even further. Obviously, we have those expectations. The other thing is that's based right now on one channel, the Q. It's one channel, and that's based on a digital business that we're still expecting to slowly transform into something that starts to generate some real revenue. Obviously, and we'll talk separately about Chatterbox, but with the Chatterbox acquisition, we think that could accelerate. We think that the launching of more channels in our Q Media network is something that we're looking to have happen in 2022. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there. This doesn't account for anything around social commerce or e-commerce or transactional stuff that we expect to have happen in 2022. So don't look at this as a straight line of where we're going. The next 3 quarters, 50% conservatively, we hope, revenue growth quarter to quarter. 2022, additive businesses on top of that accelerates even further. That's what we're hoping to go to the market with, but we're just not ready to predict that yet.
Yeah, well, before we get into Chatterbox, anything else so about, obviously revenue guidance, and I know you've done your little spiel on it as well, but anything else you want to kind of mention before we hop into Chatterbox?
Well, I think the the bottom line is that we're really, really, really focused in 2021 of solidifying, maximizing, and optimizing our TV ad sales revenue against GRP. Why is that? I've spoken before about the fact that you pay for carriage in India. Well, if I'm paying somebody $200,000 a year to carry our channel, a satellite or cable service, that money doesn't change. They don't charge me more if I'm getting 45 GRP than if I'm getting 10 GRP. I still pay $200,000. Okay. So the bigger that number becomes, the bigger your margin becomes against any carriage costs associated with that. In addition to that, a big piece that we folded in here a little bit, but not as much as we think might happen, there's been effectively zero marketing of our channel to date. Okay. For the most part, other than Instagram posts and social stuff, et cetera, there's been very, very little marketing. That's going to kick in the second half of the year. We don't know how much that's going to push things because we haven't done it yet. So we don't know what the benefit of that's going to be. But the fact that we've reached these levels without that is mind-boggling. And so what's going to happen when we start to turn the juice on, and there's billboards and newspaper ads and TV ads and radio spots saying, go watch the Q. Again, there's a couple things I haven't revealed yet that I'm not going to reveal in this conversation that we're also doing. So the way for people to look at this guidance is to say, wow, in the next 9 months, they're going to register $9-10 million of revenue. You know, that seems like that's headed majorly in the right direction. I mean, trust me, as I said, it's not because it was great revenue, so it was a low bar, but we're doing more revenue this quarter than we did in the previous 3 quarters combined, significantly more. So we're now on our way. We're on our way right now, and this is what we've been waiting for. And if people have been watching and listening, they'll see that these numbers are dramatically higher than anything we've ever had previously.